When you're invited to a SharePoint site, you'll be able to interact with the things you find in that site, different lists and libraries, documents and items, based on your role in relationship to that site or that list. Built in, there are 5 primary roles in SharePoint. The first role is that of an owner. An owner has full control of a site or a list or library and can do anything with it that they want. They own it. Next, we have designers. Their permissions are a little more limited. They can view, add, update, delete, approve, and most importantly, they can customize the things that they're given a designer role in relationship to. A slightly more limited role is that of editor. Editors have permission to work with items one might find in a site, but they don't have the ability to do things like customize the site's design. A contributor has even more limited permissions because while editors have the ability to delete items from a site, contributors generally only have the permission to delete items they themselves created. So think of it as you can post items and remove your own posts. Finally, we have members of a site who we really only want to have read items there. And we'll give them the reader role. So they have the ability to look at any item that's there. They might even have the ability to download a document and edit it, but not to resave it. If they want to save it, they'll need to save it locally on their desktop or laptop. So these are the 5 primary roles. You might have different roles on different SharePoint sites. You may have different roles within a SharePoint site. In SharePoint, roles can be established at the highest level, at the level of a site collection. A site collection is just what it sounds like, a whole collection of sites in one container, generally administered by the same person or group of people, and the members are generally the same people or with a great deal of overlap. So we can have a set of roles that are assigned at the site collection level, or at the level of an individual team site. Or we can have different roles based on specific apps within a site, a library or a list. So I might, for example, in Site A be someone who can only read the documents in Library 1, but I actually have the ability to contribute to Library 2. In Site B, I may have permissions for any list and library there that are exactly the same. Generally speaking, we want to establish the broadest level of permissions we can. So unless there's a compelling reason for people to have different permissions to Library 1, Library 2, and List 1 in Site A, we would generally simply set the permissions at the level of the site, establish those roles there, and then allow those roles to also work for the libraries and lists. Now, I've used the words permission and role together here in the same sentence. When you, in turn, are establishing a site later on in SharePoint, and you need to determine what user roles are, after you've established the roles that are available, you will then assign specific groups of people permissions, and that is how they will get these roles. We can talk about SharePoint roles, but when you go to actually set these in SharePoint, the title of the page is Permissions Levels, and you'll learn more about this later in the course under the title SharePoint Permissions. For now, it's enough to know that the roles that you have are assigned by someone else, a site's owner or a SharePoint administrator, and that your role may differ from site to site and within a site from one list or library to another.